A live look for the nation's capital, where the celebration continues after President Trump was sworn in for a second term today. President Trump takes office in a much different environment than in 2016 when he won the White House despite losing the popular vote. Our Natalie Brand joins us live now from Capitol Hill. And Natalie, it seems like the American people have higher hopes for the Trump administration this time around.
Ryan, that's what our CBS News polling showed, that most Americans, around 60% of those surveyed, felt optimistic, particularly around hopes of a better economy. We are in the Capital One arena, not far from Capitol Hill. This earlier today was packed with around 20,000 Trump supporters who traveled, many of them from out of state, to be here to witness the presidential parade and rally that took place after the swearing-in ceremony. And a number of supporters I spoke to today told me they feel like President Trump is more comfortable and experienced in Washington this time around. They have even greater expectations for his second term. Again, these are Trump supporters who approved of his first term, and they feel like he will be able to get a lot done, especially now since Republicans currently control both chambers of Congress. We've already seen Republican senators trying to move quickly on some of Trump's key cabinet picks, with Marco Rubio being confirmed just tonight as Secretary of State. Ryan.
Pretty hard to miss the head of nearly every major tech company was at today's inauguration. What do you think that tells us about the relationship between the Trump administration and the tech industry?
Yeah, it was striking to see a number of these CEOs take some of the most exclusive seats in Washington during the inaugural ceremony and luncheon that followed. That includes Mark Zuckerberg of Meta, who, as you know, Ryan, has had a complicated relationship with President Trump, especially after he was suspended from those social media platforms after the January 6th Capitol attack in 2021. Well, fast forward to now, Meta donated around $1 million to the inaugural committee. We know that Zuckerberg has had a private meeting with President Trump. And, you know, it's interesting to see how these tech leaders are trying to make amends and you know, potentially work with a second Trump administration. It's also striking to think back to last week when President Biden, former President Biden, in his farewell address, was warning of the tech industrial complex and an oligarchy that was threatening democracy, he said.
Yeah, it definitely was a who's who of Silicon Valley. And so within the last hour or so, President Trump signing pardons for thousands of his supporters who were convicted on charges related to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, President Trump left Capital One Arena, headed straight to the Oval Office, where he continues to sign executive orders. That big one, pardoning around 1,500 defendants convicted in the January 6th Capitol attack. As we know, that was a campaign promise. Notably, President Trump did not mention January 6th or those defendants during his inaugural address, but then in later speeches went on to talk about January 6th. He criticized former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Republicans who were on the January 6th committee, and he promised this large swath of pardons, which tonight he made good on that campaign promise, signed that executive order. Ryan, I can also tell you he just a short time ago signed another executive order declaring an energy emergency. We know that a key goal of the Trump administration is to expand domestic energy production, expand drilling, and also take aim, reverse some of the Biden-era administration policies that were aimed at trying to promote clean energy and investment in clean or green tech.
Yep, President Trump very busy on day one. Natalie Brand live in Washington. Thanks for joining us.